Hello and welcome to the podcast series Anecdotes of Digital Humanities. This is part second of the third episode of the series. So let's get started. Okay, so next we go to our philosopher Anya. So Anya, how are you relating this with your course?
Firstly, I'm far from being a philosopher, but I come from a liberal arts background and I had a major in philosophy. So, liberal arts in itself is a very interdisciplinary course. We've done so I come from Jindal, and over there, the structure of the course is such that for the first 1.5 years, we just do foundational humanities courses, which include everything from pol science, philosophy to economics, statistics, everything. And then we declare our majors and we have a little bit of a focus on what we pursue then. So for me, actually coming into a field like digital humanities was very intuitive because of its interdisciplinarity, the fact that I could explore so many avenues. I think I myself have always wanted to um, see different experience different ideas, which I had in my own bachelor's, and now which I wanted to also pursue in my master's. As for seeing the connections between my own background and DH, there are actually so many. um, as a philosophy student, obviously I've focused a lot on the philosophy of mind, philosophy of language. We've had certain courses on that, but here in DH I can actually see its application in real life. I think in most of our courses we've had discussions that often go back to philosophical concepts, because at the end of the day we are we have borrowed a lot of our understanding from these concepts. So we find ourselves going back to that, and I can definitely see a very, very great influence of philosophy in DH itself, in the discussions we've had, especially I think in one of our first few sessions in one of our courses on foundations of digital humanities. We were discussing about signs and signified in the digital, and that actually goes back to a very core concept in philosophy of language. So again, there is a lot of scope in terms of philosophy of technology, perhaps even philosophy of digital humanities. There's so much that one can think about, because there are so many questions that DH is dealing with that can be seen, that can be answered from a philosophical perspective. But that's just philosophy. So in liberal arts, we've covered a lot of other courses as well. So we've done a little bit of literature, a little bit of pol science, a little bit of economics. And so all of those things actually find their way here in small bits and pieces. So it it makes a lot of sense, because when you're studying all of these things in isolation as particular courses in a course like liberal arts, um, it makes sense then also, but it's not so clear as to how you can apply those concepts in your own contemporary setting. But when you do it, when you discuss these topics in the sphere of DH, you can understand how it's being applied, and how these are concepts that are really fundamental in answering some of these questions that are arising in DH. So I think there's so much that both liberal arts and DH have in common, philosophy and DH has in common, and I think that for me this was the best choice, because like I said, I'm a person who wants to explore as much as I can, and I think DH is really giving me that opportunity.
Thank you, Anya. Thank you so much. Okay, so now moving on to Jinu. Jinu is coming from economic background. So Jinu, I would like to ask you the same series of the questions, like how are you connecting economics with digital humanities?
Okay, so DH is a field of interdisciplinary subjects. You can, as I have already told, like you can think beyond your traditional approach. Being from an economics background, I felt like economics is all about data. Yeah, even you are checking with RBI, or you are checking with stock market, or you are checking with the daily economic situation of a country, everything relates to a data. Now, rather than going to a data analytics stream, when you connect it with digital humanities, the difference is you are giving more, um, I can say, more focus to the humanistic aspects of data. For example, in my project, I am taking the Twitter, I am connecting the Twitter sentiments with stock market fluctuations. So rather than just talking about, this is how poverty looks, this is how the Twitter sentiment looks, you can connect your subject, which is more traditional, to the humanistic aspect through digital humanities. So basically you are addressing the dimensions that are not addressed in the traditional methods.
Thank you, Jinu. Thank you so much. So next we have Lakshya. Lakshya is coming from geography background. So Lakshya, how are you connecting geography under digital humanities?
Yes, so according to me, first of all, I want to clarify the definition of digital humanities. So it is a field of study, research, teaching, and invention concerned with the intersection of computing as well as the disciplines of humanities. So as I came from the geography background, so many of the subjects that I have studied theoretically, likewise in the first semester I have studied geomorphology. So here I have studied different technical terms. So here I want to connect all the principles or the techniques that I have studied. I have to implement it in this particular course, and whether the apps that I have used during the time of my graduation to prepare any of the any project. So I have to implement my works on in this particular course. So here I'm looking forward to implement new and better techniques to solve the big problems related to humanities. That's why I'm connecting this.
Thank you, Lakshya. Okay, so moving on to anesthesia. Anesthesia, I want to ask you the same question. Like, what do you think on the multidiscipline aspects of digital humanities? And how are you relating your core subject with digital humanities?
So I came into digital humanities from journalism background. And why I decided to go there, because today journalism moves into digital journalism, which means we use a lot of data and we need tools. And I feel like the journalism field in itself, it don't have enough of those tools. We have some very, computer programming related courses, but they don't really teach you how to work with data. What does it mean to work with data? So I feel like digital humanities can be applied to so many fields. And maybe it shouldn't be even called digital humanities. Maybe we can think of other names for it. But obviously journalism is humanities. But I know, like, for example, in my course, there were people from all the other backgrounds, like architecture, there were people from biology, and they were able to find something relevant for them in this course. But I feel like for me, it definitely kind of taught me how to work with data and how to, for example, write and create interactive stories. So when you go into New York Times and you see different like articles where you can click there and see, how the data's changed from one year to another, or how even like with COVID, how many cases were 2 days ago and how many cases are there today. And to see that change, you have to know how to work with data. You have to know how people see and understand data. So I feel like, yes, we can definitely use the knowledge everywhere, not only in museums or whatever you would think that humanities are.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you so much.